What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka New York Prepper. It is Monday, December 6th, 2021. Just wanted to share with you guys an interview that I did on the Trad Cat Night podcast. And I'm actually a recurring guest on his podcast. He invited me to do podcasts with him every month. So I just did one last week, and I wanted to just share that podcast with you guys. But this is his YouTube channel, Trad Cat Night. He has 152,000 subscribers, and his podcast is actually through his website, and you have to pay in order to have access to it. And the reason why is for obvious reasons. He can't talk about everything on YouTube, so he has a paywall set up so he can talk about everything he wants to and not have his channel shut down. But this is his YouTube channel. He posts occasionally to it. And then here's his website, Trad Cat Night. He focuses on Catholic prophecy and end times stuff. So just wanted to share his website with you guys. Definitely recommend his podcast. He's interviewed a lot of very well-known people in the prepping community, in the end times community. He's interviewed Paul Bagley. He's interviewed various preppers and survival show hosts and different people. So he's got a great podcast set up. So I'm going to just attach the interview that I did with him last week, the podcast that I did with him, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.
Trad Cat Night special guest, exclusive podcast right here on the tradcatnight.org website. Folks, today is December the 3rd, 2021. I hope you all are having a very wonderful and blessed day. As always, we continue to keep the programming moving along here at Trad Cat Night, your number one Catholic podcast and information service. And folks, we've already got 2 shows down. Anthony Stein, Mark Dankoff. We still have Patrick Wood from technocracy.news coming on here in a little bit. But first-time guest last month, Greg, the New York Prepper, is joining us right now, and we're going to be breaking down some of the latest in regards to the La Palma situation, geopolitical affairs. So we've got Poland, Belarus square off. You got Ukraine, Russia. How about prepping for winter, bug-out bag items specifically? And I've got a few questions that I wanted to ask him personally based upon some of the stuff that I've been doing here over the last month or so, and a purchase that I might make, but I'm trying to, gathering data and people's opinions from the prepping and survivalist world before I make any purchase. So I'm going to ask Greg something here too in a little bit. Before we hand it over to Greg to get things started, though, as you know, my good friends, continue to follow Trad Cat Night across all social media outlets. We're even on TikTok, Instagram, all that good stuff. Don't forget to join the Trad Cat Night video club, folks. Many of you are still not signed up. You can get all of the latest Trad Cat Night videos. I think I've housed over 200 of them now on the Patreon channel, patreon.com/Trad Cat Night. We'll do another video interview tomorrow with Dr. Paul Cottrell. Special guest suggestions, your articles, your information, your questions can be sent to me at my email at apostlemarried@hotmail.com. Don't forget about the Marie Jalija Henny movie. Still available on Vimeo, vimeo.com. Type in 3 Days of Dark. Just check it on out. And folks, can't stress this enough. This website is funded through your charity. Again, different websites and outlets, they have their own ways of creating revenue to keep them with the ability to do the work on a full-time basis. This is one of those major avenues that you can help out. There's GoFundMe, there's PayPal, cash check, money order. But again, I can only continue to do this work on a full-time basis provided that financial assistance is there. And I'll just put it to you like this. We're going to need it moving forward, especially during tough economic times. So if you can help out, we sure do appreciate it. Another way you can help out is join the sponsorship team. You can reach on out to me at apostleofmarried@hotmail.com. We do have to make mention of John Dean's Jacksbury.com, prolific Catholic outlet. They were our first ever sponsors here. John, thanks so much for all that you're doing, but it's loaded full of saint quotes, prayers, and so much more. You got Cooney's Market, which is located up in Northwest Ohio. I'll spell it for you, Kuny's Market. Now it's a 4th generation farm growing its own, excuse me, Growing its own fruits and vegetables for the last 90 years, they specialize in unpasteurized sweet apple cider, full line of produce, Amish beef cheeses, and so much more. You can also check them out on Facebook, too, by the way. You've got Chris Gagne inviting all Catholics and those like-minded, please remember the dead, remember the holy souls which have gone before us, pray an extra litany, get to the sacrifice as often as you can. Chris is doing a wonderful and fantastic job up there with Father Voigt in the Minnesota area. You've got Jeff Campos and a giftolight.com now. Gift of Light Candle Company offers a unique way to commemorate a special occasion or a loved one through a candle. It's going to display your personal photos and or prayers or messages. They're 6 inches tall, 22-ounce candle with a burn time of 120 hours. Your personal photos are wrapped around the entire candle for a 360 view. And last but not least, Joe Blazak, Catholic businessman out here in Ohio, who is kicking butt and taking names with his 247rosary.com up-and-coming traditional outlet. It plays the online radio. It's an online radio station that plays the traditional rosary every half hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The site also has a spot for prayer intentions as well as general information on the rosary itself. And Joe's asking for prayers for his father who has recently contracted COVID. We will do that for you, Joe. And having said that, we now have Greg, the New York Prepper, on the program. And Greg, thanks so much for joining us. Hopefully your Thanksgiving was well, and it looks like deer season is well underway in Pennsylvania and on the hunting side of things. Not an area that I'm overly familiar with, but how's that been going?
It's been going pretty good. A little bit slow this year because there's this virus that's been going around the last 2 years or so. So it kind of killed a lot of the deer off. So I guess we'll have to see what the success is this year. But seems a little bit slow so far.
I didn't know that. I didn't realize. I mean, as a result of COVID, the deers are going down.
No, there's like a new hemorrhagic disease that
Oh, really?
yeah, like 2 years ago, it's been hitting the deer, and it started out somewhere in New York, and
I didn't know
they had to trim back a lot of their doe permits that they issue. So yeah,
Gotcha.
it's called EHD. It's supposedly transmitted by a fly or something like that, and it kills the deer off. So some kind of viral disease. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I really did not know that because my sister's significant other is a hunter as well, and he didn't make mention of that to me. Although he's still fishing though. This time he's still doing a
Okay.
little fishing, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he would have told me that by now. And out here, it's very popular too in the Ohio Valley area, probably not too far from you. But having said that, let's get into some of the latest Earth changes. Obviously, a lot of earthquakes have happened. Peru, Honshu, Japan. There's a swarm of quakes down in the North Carolina area, which has been concerning people. But of course, still remains a hot topic. La Palma. What's the latest that you're seeing there, Greg?
Oh, well, there was a surge in activity this week. We had 2 days where there were over 300 earthquakes. And in 2 days, there were 700 earthquakes. So that's just a lot of earthquakes in 2 days, you know. So what's interesting about this volcano I noticed in the last couple of weeks is that it'll go like really quiet, and then the activity will just pick up, and there'll be like a record-breaking amount of earthquakes, and then it'll quiet down again and pick up again. I don't know if that's like a new phase that the volcano's going into, but like the first month or so, the activity was pretty steady. It was like, you know, every day the same amount of earthquakes and the same amount of lava coming out. It was pretty steady, you know, first month and a half. And then in the last month or so, I noticed that there's like these peaks, you know, where it just spikes up, you know, breaks a record, massive amount of lava, and then it quiets back down again, and everybody thinks it's over, and then it spikes up again, you know. So it doesn't look like it's going to be ending anytime soon. So I think people should definitely prepare for, you know, the worst case scenario would be a mega tsunami. If there's a landslide, you know, that is a possibility over there. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but there is a 13-foot crack, you know, in the middle of the island. So with enough shaking, you know, hundreds and hundreds of earthquakes, it could finally give way. And also the steam and the magma pressure underneath could cause the land to slide down into the ocean. So that would be a worst case scenario. And if that were to happen, I think it would be very devastating for the United States. I think we would have, you know, basically an apocalyptic type situation because Most of the U.S. population is right along the eastern seaboard, I-95 corridor,
Mm-hmm.
in
Used to
major
live there.
U.S. cities. Yeah, so that would be bad. Plus, you got all the nuclear plants on the eastern seaboard, so it would be like 10 or 20 Fukushimas, all at once. But
Yeah.
that's the absolute worst case scenario, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. When talking about potential tsunamis, either through the La Palma situation or from Catholic prophecy in Scripture of wormwood hitting, and most of my analysts who study Earth changes and latest space weather, if you will. With the exception of one person, they all say it's going to hit the East Coast, and the East Coast will be affected. I still think Gil Broussard is holding to the thesis that the meteor to come or the asteroid to come, wormwood, will hit the West Coast. But yeah, Fukushima type events are not talked about enough. As a matter of fact, in looking at my situation here in the Ohio Valley area, I'm sure you're probably aware of this too, but running up along the Mississippi River, really from all the way from Louisiana up to Chicago, there's quite a few a nuclear reactor. So I'm like, oh man, if the Earth starts cracking and doing, kind of funny stuff, I've prepared for that. So I've got my, military grade masks and biohazard suits and all of that. And I kid you not, that's something that I've been preparing for. What most people too are preparing for, and you highlighted this 3 days ago, grand solar minimum. We just had an unusual blizzard in the UK killing 3 people. I think the Farmer's Almanac is indicating this is going to be another brutal year, at least in certain areas.
Mhm.
Your thoughts there in preparing for the winter? Now, out here, it was like 60 something degrees the other day, just yesterday. Today, it's
Right.
going to be
Yep.
much colder. So it's sort of like all over the place.
Right.
And so
Right.
another thing to consider with that too is I don't know about you, Greg, but that's when can typically get sick when you're going from 60 to 70 to 30, back up to 70, dropping back down to 30. Like my body has no idea what to do. But
Yeah. Yeah.
what are you
Sure.
taking a look at weather-wise?
Well, we are heading into what's known as a double La Nina. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the ocean cycles, but the ocean has a huge effect on the climate, and there's something called La Nina and El
Hmm.
Nino, which has to do with the equatorial Pacific, the water, the ocean water. Depending on the trade winds and how the trade winds are blowing, it can cause the cold water from the depths of the Pacific to upwell up to the surface of the ocean, and that causes, global cooling. So we had a La Nina last winter, and we didn't have a La Nina in a few years, and that's why everybody was saying, "Oh, the Earth is warming," and that's not true. It's just the natural cycle. And so we had a La Nina last winter, and now we're going into another La Nina. And the NOAA officially released a La Nina advisory for this winter on November 11th, so it's 100%, confirmed. So two La Ninas back to back. Typically, when you have those types of years, you usually have the worst snowstorms, the worst Arctic air outbreaks. If you look back at 2010 and 2011, those winters were just absolutely brutal, especially for the Northeast. I'm not sure in Ohio how it was, but 2010, 2011, you had the Snowmageddon in 2009 also, which was as a result of a La Nina. So we are going into a La Nina this winter, and back to back two La Ninas. That's not good. Um,
Hmm. Right.
and so last year we had that polar vortex, which is also bad for people. Obviously, freezing temperatures and
Yeah,
stuff
deep
like
cold.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Deep freeze. Yeah, no, a lot happening on that level. We'll continue to monitor all the latest Earth changes here. Now, what specifically are you doing out in the Pennsylvania area to prepare for the winter? Anything new based upon what's happening, in the world? We didn't even get to the geopolitics side of things, but is it sort of, same stuff that you've been doing the last few years, or you kind of taking a look at a few new areas for prepping? I just recently got a wood stove put in. I've
Mhm.
got two EcoFlows, one of those portable power stations that you can kind of
Sure.
like, power up through either solar. We could do it through your car battery too, and gas generator. Right, I just got a gas generator too.
Yep.
What's some of the latest that you're doing?
Well, I guess I'm not really doing anything too new right now. Wood stoves are great. I don't have one right now because I'm actually renting here right now,
Okay.
renting a house.
Gotcha.
So I can't just put a wood stove
Sure.
in, but I highly recommend people have wood stoves if they can put one in. That's definitely a good thing. Um, I always recommend everybody have some propane heaters in their house. Now, a lot of people will say that you can get carbon monoxide poisoning, but that's kind of more of like a scare tactic kind of thing.
Okay.
All you have to do is just get a carbon monoxide detector and just put it right next to you. And if anything happens, that thing will just turn on and wake you up. But I recommend people should have at least one, ideally two propane heaters, and you can buy them at Lowe's for like $50, and they just screw on to the top of like a barbecue 20-pound propane cylinder. And what's good about that is you can move it around different areas of your house, so you can warm up certain areas if you want to prevent your pipes from freezing, or if you have multiple people, you don't want to squeeze everyone in like a small room, you can move it around and turn it on and you get instant heat. You don't have to worry about cleaning anything like a wood stove. So I think you need something that you can turn on and have instant heat, because wood stoves are great, but you still have to get them started. Takes time to heat up the house and stuff like that. You want something you can turn on and get quick heat right away. I also recommend everybody have a wool blanket for every single person in their family. Wool blankets you can buy for like $30. I mean, it's just a no-brainer. Everybody in your house should have a wool blanket. Everybody should have a decent quality sleeping bag, because if the power goes out, your heat system goes out, whatever, you need to stay warm. Good outerwear is very important in my opinion. Even if you don't have a heat source in your house, you don't have a wool blanket, and you don't have a sleeping bag, if you have good outerwear, high quality outerwear, that's basically like a shelter that you're wearing. And even without any source of heat, you could put that on and you'll still be warm. So good quality outerwear, I recommend, some kind of waterproof, breathable fabric like Gore-Tex with some insulation is critical. Um, if you live in an area that gets a lot of snow, like here in Western PA, Central PA, we get the lake effect snow, and you want to make sure you have some kind of traction devices for your boots, and ideally snowshoes. Those are great things to have. You should have a survival kit in your car, because God forbid if something happens while you're driving and you get stranded on the side of the road, it could be hours if not days before somebody comes to help you. If it's like a major blizzard, and you're stuck in your car
Yeah.
and it's 5 degrees outside.
Can I
you,
can I add one thought in there too that I thought about actually because I was out and about for quite some time, and one day last week it got like really cold really fast here, and the truck, the SUV that I have right now, I haven't had any issues with it, but all in one
Mhm.
day my tire pressure went really low, like really
Yep.
fast. It was really weird.
Yep.
So I actually went out and got one of those tire inflator things. I spent like 60
Yeah.
bucks on it. My dad had one for his SUV, and I was like, dang. And so I keep it in my car now. So make sure you got tire inflators too if you're out on the road.
Yes. Yep. I keep one too. Yeah. I have the same. I have the one that you plug right into the cigarette outlet. Yeah. You
Yeah.
definitely. That's very important. And another thing that I do that, everybody knows, oh yeah, have a winter survival kit. That's common sense. What I do is in the winter, I have like a duffel bag filled with winter clothing, and I keep spare boots in there in my car. But another thing that I do is I also keep a little bit of firewood, and I keep some fire starters in my car, because if I break down and I need to build a fire to keep myself warm, worst case scenario, I have like a couple pieces of firewood that I could burn. And even if it's right on the shoulder of the road, if it's a major storm and nobody's coming, I'll be warmer outside next to the fire than, in my
Mm.
car. So yeah.
Yeah, no, all great points. Now, one of the videos I thought I saw where you were talking about a new, well, maybe not a new bug out item, but a bug out item maybe that perhaps people overlook. What's that bug out item? It's from a couple
Oh
weeks
yeah,
ago.
that was that's some kind of like a melee weapon, because
Hmm.
a lot of people think, I'll carry a pistol or I'll have a knife. That's like common sense. Everybody thinks, all right, pistol, knife, that's common sense. A lot of uses there for self-defense and other uses. But some kind of like a short stick or like a club is what I recommend, because in certain situations you may want to give yourself a little bit of a distance from your attacker, and you may not want to use lethal force. Sometimes if you hit someone in the leg with a club, that'll dissuade them from any kind of further attack. If you're dealing with, let's say, I originally thought about it because there's a lot of wildlife here and I live in the country. So if I'm bugging out and I have to deal with, let's say, a coyote or a
Mm,
small bear, I may not want to waste all my ammo, trying to shoot a
sure.
coyote that's running all around me 40 miles an hour. They can run really fast. So I figure if I have a club, I can hit it, you know what I mean? Or if you're in an urban area and you got to deal with, stray dogs, that's a major problem in a lot of cities, stray dogs and wild dogs that, if that thing, tries to attack you, it's not that easy to shoot an animal that's that quick. Animals are much faster than people, and if you draw your gun out, by the time you draw your gun out, the dog could already be chewing on your leg. So in that situation, having like a short stick or a club, is really handy in my opinion for
Yeah.
many different reasons. So that's what it was.
Yeah, that's cool. Good idea. Now, in regards to geopolitics, let's spend a few minutes first talking about the Poland Belarus situation. We're both Polish ourselves. What's really happening there? Again, you're reading, mainstream media here in America, quite different than what you would be reading perhaps over somewhere in Europe. But what's really going on there, do you think?
I mean, depending on who you ask, you get different opinions on this. You have the people that think that Russia is the victim, and then you have people that think that Europe is the victim. I tend to lean towards, Putin is ex-KGB, you know, to become KGB, especially to the level that he went to, Lieutenant Colonel, you have to be pretty, extreme in your beliefs in terms of, communism and things like that. You can't serve two masters. If you're serving the communist government, you're not going to be serving God. So I think he's trying to restore the Soviet Union. I'm just going to call it like it is. That's what I see. I think that they're using Belarus, the migrants, as a distraction from Ukraine. I think what they're trying to do is send the migrants towards Poland, get them bogged down over there, focusing on that. And then in the meantime, they're going to invade Ukraine. It's kind of like, Putin is a fighter. He does martial arts. And
Yeah.
if you talk to anybody that does martial arts, you don't just go in with your knockout punch right off the bat because people are going to see it coming. So, like in boxing, you throw jabs first to distract your opponent, and then you come in with a hook or something. And I think that could be possibly what he's doing here. If not, it's just another attempt to destabilize Europe by bringing in terrorists, into Europe so they could go into Germany and form, terrorist cells, and then down the road, cause problems for them.
Hmm.
So it is a form of an attack on Europe, in my opinion. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's basically what I think is going on.
And I forget what top leader said this from Ukraine. I'm not sure if it was Zelensky. Maybe it was Zelensky, but he indicated that he felt quite certain that Russia was going to invade by end of January. I remember that being
Yes.
one headline. Then you
Yep.
had Putin threatening NATO. Like this is really picking up. And again, I know you're
Yep.
Catholic, and this ties in with the Fatima prophecy, wherein it was
Yep.
foretold that Russia would be chosen by heaven to scourge the nations. Various nations would be annihilated as a result of it. And I've been looking more at the bioterrorist side of it with potential Russian connection to smallpox. I think I mentioned that on the last show that we did. Although
Hmm.
I wouldn't say it's limited to that. Obviously, nuclear, scalar technology. They're
Sure.
hypersonic missiles and anti. What
Right.
was that thing that did that this past week? Like anti defense or
The
anti
satellite.
satellite? Yeah,
Yeah,
anti
the shot
satellite.
out the satellite.
Crazy
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah. I think another thing too that a lot of people overlook is an attack on the food supply in terms of, you mentioned bio.
Hmm.
A couple of years back, there was an outbreak of swine flu in Eastern Europe, and it really hit Ukraine and Poland hard. And Poland had to cull a lot of their pork, and also they had to cull their wild boars
Mm.
because of a African swine flu outbreak. So that could be another type of bio weapon,
Hmm.
is some kind of a disease that targets the livestock, and so they could easily do that too, and then that would be kind of sneaky because nobody would, be able to blame Russia for that, right? Who knows how that would
Right.
come from, right?
Sure.
So,
Now,
but
what do you? How do I put this? There's some evidence to suggest of a Red Dawn scenario from Catholic prophecy here, in mainland United States, with
Mhm.
Russia coming from the East
Right.
Coast and from Canada, and basically China coming from Mexico and the West Coast type of
Yep.
scenario. I mean,
Yep.
where are you at with that? I mean, you hear a lot of different scenarios with that. Have you
Yeah.
kind of looked into it, and what do you think of that?
Yeah. It's something I've been studying for a long time, actually, at least a couple of years, ever since I would say 2014-ish, when Russia invaded Ukraine the first time and took Crimea. My theory is that if there was any kind of world war and it really escalated to the nuclear level, a lot of people think that Russia or China, first of all, China is not going to use their nukes because they only have a few hundred. So it would basically be the US versus Russia in a nuclear war. And Russia's not going to send their nukes to New York City or Los Angeles because it just doesn't really have a lot of value for them. It sounds good on paper, like blowing up a major U.S. city. Wow, yeah, it would kill a lot of civilians and a lot of cultural things would be destroyed, but it wouldn't really do a lot of damage to our military machine. So Russia, if we did go to a nuclear level, Russia would target our nuclear arsenal and they would try to do a decapitating strike and
Mm.
take out all of our nuclear triads so we can't hit back at them. And that's what I think a lot of people don't think about is they think, oh, they're going to hit the cities, but no, they're not going to hit the cities because there's not much value for them. The killing of millions of civilians, it doesn't really do much. But if they were to hit our nuclear triad, our silos in North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, and then our submarine launched ballistic missiles, if they could pepper those bases with hundreds of small nukes and take them out, that would be their end goal because then they don't even need to invade us. Once they destroy our nuclear arsenal, there's no more nuclear deterrent, and America's not the top dog anymore. And then they can go
Mm.
around and do whatever they want.
Yeah. That's since you mentioned the word arsenal, let's talk a little bit of guns. I know you're quite quaint with those. Again, I'm just recently over the last year and a half been getting into it. I got through all the handguns that I've purchased over the past month. Haven't gotten into any of the rifles or shotguns or semi-auto, so I still have to do that.
Hmm.
But what's the best guns to have? We'll stay on two levels.
Sure.
One for defense, and then two for hunting, getting game, for survival, food survival.
Sure. You mean like specific rifles, specific cartridges and
Yeah.
stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I always recommend people for if you could only have one rifle, I would recommend either like an AR-10, which is actually the same thing as an AR-15, but it uses a 308 cartridge, which is also a NATO standard cartridge. So if there's like a grid down situation, you can easily scavenge 308. It's very common. And the
Okay.
308 caliber bullet is also a very common bullet. So it's easy to find and scavenge, and if you need to make your own ammo, you can easily do that. So my recommendation is an AR-10 instead of an AR-15. I know I'll probably, a lot of people will probably, they'll give me flack for that, but the AR-10 is much better for the average person because it has a lot more power and you can hunt with it. And in addition to being able to hunt with it, you can also use it to defend. It still has pretty manageable recoil, and it also gives you long range capabilities. So, like An AR-15, you're pretty limited to, just maybe 200-300 yards at the most. After that, the trajectory is bad, and the terminal ballistics are not good because it's a very small bullet. But the 308, I mean, police and military snipers used to use it all the way out to 1,000 yards. So in my opinion, AR-10 is a very versatile weapon for the average citizen because you can hunt with it, you can defend with it. You have a little bit more power with it, more penetration, and if we're talking about a complete uh, collapse of society, you never know when you need penetration for different reasons. In addition to that, I would say a good bolt action rifle, in my opinion, is essential because semi-automatics are great, but anybody that shoots will tell you that they can jam. The gas system can get clogged up with carbon and fouling. So, they're not as reliable because they're reliant on a gas system. They can jam if you're using different rounds, they have different pressure levels. And depending on what kind of round you use, it may not feed properly in your weapon, and you have to adjust the gas system for that. So that's one of the main downsides to a semi-automatic. Um, with a manually operated firearm, you don't have to worry about that. Also, if you have something like a bolt action rifle or a pump action shotgun or a revolver, you don't need a magazine, and obviously you don't need a gas system. So that eliminates two big points of failure right there because semi-automatics are great, but if you lose all your magazines, your weapon is basically a single shot pistol or single shot rifle because you need that magazine. With a bolt action or pump action revolver, as long as you have ammunition, you can feed it and it'll work. And you don't have to worry about the gas system and all that stuff. But I would say AR-10 is highly recommended, in my opinion, if you could only have one rifle. If you have more money, I would also get a good quality bolt action rifle. I would say 270 Winchester, 30-06, or my favorite, 300 Win Mag. Something in that power level will give you the ability to pretty much take down most North American big game animals, even grizzlies. I would not go lighter than a 270. I would recommend 270 or 30-06. Even better, 300 Win Mag or 7mm Rem Mag are great. But something in the 30 caliber range in a bolt action, highly recommended for variety of reasons. And not only will they take down pretty much any big game animal in North America, but they can do it at a long distance. 300 Win Mag could take down an elk at 700-800 yards. So they have a lot of power.
Yeah. Now here's a personal question again. I was sent a video the other day, and again, I'm not overly familiar with this. It was a company called Urban Hoodie, and I think there's different companies like that out there. And the suggestion is that basically like a Kevlar like sweatshirt could stop not only like handgun rounds, but like certain
Right.
like shotgun rounds or rifle rounds or whatever. And I don't know.
Right.
I watched a few pretty reputable videos, and it looked legit to me. And
Right.
so I'm like, man, should I get something like that? Should I get a bulletproof vest? Because I was looking at like bulletproof vests last year. Should I get both? And then I started thinking, well, do they make like Kevlar like sweatpants too, like for your legs? I'm like,
Right.
what's been your research in this area? Do urban hoodies work? I mean, they're pretty well. I don't know if they're expensive. I mean, you would know the space better than me, but the kind that I was looking at was like $300 for the highest rated one. You know how there's like ratings, like a 3A and I don't know, like level 2, but the highest one that I saw for this one particular company was like $300. What's sort of your takeaway from that space, or should we just stay with like a basic bulletproof vest?
I haven't actually done any testing with it, so I can't really speak on whether it works or not. I'd love to get a hold of one and bring it to the range and shoot all my rifles at it and all my big bores and stuff and see what it can take. But I will say that Kevlar is pretty remarkable. I have done some testing with plates, with ceramic plates that have layers of Kevlar behind the ceramic,
Mhm.
and it's pretty amazing. I was doing a test with the 500 Magnum, which is the most powerful handgun in the world, and I was shooting at a plate to see if it could penetrate. And even after the ceramic was completely obliterated, the Kevlar was still stopping these massive 50 caliber bullets,
Wow.
So yeah, the only thing with Kevlar though is that any kind of soft body armor like that, whether it's ceramic or Kevlar, it'll stop the bullet, but it's not going to stop the impact.
Right, the
So
force. Yeah,
yeah, the force. So
probably still get broken ribs.
yeah, broken ribs or ruptured organs, depending on if you get hit with like a 3-inch slug, uh, even if
Right.
it stops it, it probably would stop the slug because slugs are huge. But I mean, your organs are gonna be like probably ruptured, but still, it's better than nothing, right? I mean,
Right. Better than being really dead.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly, yeah.
Like when you know you're dead, well, like, hey, maybe I could survive some ruptured organs, or I don't know, maybe you don't want to survive ruptured organs. I don't know, but yeah, no, it's interesting space there. What did you make before we let you go? We obviously know the commie play is to try to get away guns here in America. Democrats, the Pelosi's of the world, trying to pass legislation in times past. I don't know if you got any update in regards to where we're at with that. I know when I was looking at it last year, it seemed like they were going to get even more strict. You have to go through like certain types of background checks. You couldn't have any mental issues or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, we were like a lot more like levels to it, I guess, in regards to getting a gun. And I guess every
Yeah,
state is a little bit different. I'm in Ohio, which I think is a more lenient state compared to most. My point is, talk to us about that, agenda. But then I've got a few, my guests, such as like the Dr. Jim Fetzers of the world, that will say, a lot of these false flags that are happening in the world, whether well, specifically here in the United States, like the Las Vegas shooting that went down in Florida, maybe even this past one in Michigan with the kid where he had a semi automatic like handgun. Is this like all sort of a ruse or a play to get the guns out of get as many guns out as they can out of the hands of Americans?
oh yeah. I mean, I do think, with all due respect to the victims of a lot of these shootings, me personally, I believe some of them could be like false flags, from the
Right.
deep state.
Sure.
For example, the Vegas shooting comes to mind. I mean, the Vegas shooting is, if you study that, I mean, there's like no footage of the shooter. I mean, nobody knew where he was, but he was shooting hundreds of rounds. It took the police an hour to find him. I find that very
Right.
hard to believe. If somebody's shooting hundreds of rounds, you're gonna find them within a few minutes. Um, so yeah, they had that bill that they wanted to put that yearly tax on every. I think it was like $200 for every gun that you own or something, and you have to pay it every year. That was a Biden idea, and that I haven't heard anything about that going through. They also
Huh.
wanted to do a national registry and a national licensing. I haven't heard anything yet solid, like it's not, up for vote or anything. So that's good news right now.
Hmm.
Right now, I haven't heard that anything's actually passing through yet.
Yeah.
Um, so that's all I know. But I don't really follow in detail the Second Amendment as much as some other guys do. I just kind of generally
Right.
understand what's going on, but it's just
Sure.
so many things to follow. I just don't have enough time.
Right. Right. Yeah. And like I said, every state's different too.
Every state's
Um,
different. Yeah,
hmm.
exactly. Well, there was a court case in New York regarding the concealed carry, and it went. I think it's going in favor for New York, so that could be a little bit of a good sign. Plus, we had some states flip Republican or almost Republican. We almost had a Republican governor in New Jersey, like very close, I think, and
Right. Yeah.
so that's
Flip-flopped in Virginia too. I think Virginia's
so
got.
yeah, Virginia. Yep, Virginia went red. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, Greg, we appreciate the time. Let's do some shameless self-promotion. What can we help you promote this month?
Just check out my channel. I also created some new merchandise. You can find the merchandise in underneath all my videos. I put a link to
Okay.
my Teespring store. So I have some new designs that I came up with. I think they're really cool. Yeah, just check out my channel, and I also have a website with a discussion forum. I'd like to get that built up a little bit. just so people can talk about things outside of social media platforms. So I
Hmm.
have a website with a discussion forum, and I encourage people to utilize that. So
All right. Well, we appreciate the time, buddy. That's Greg, the New York Prepper, and we got him booked for next month. So we'll look forward to getting Greg's analysis on all of his latest videos. And folks, listen, I think this might be the last show. I haven't been able to get a hold of Patrick Wood all morning, so I'm hoping we're going to be able to make this happen here in a few minutes. But if not, we'll have to probably reschedule him for the end of the month. But until next time, my good friends, stay safe and God bless.